It's been over a week since the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. So much information still coming in about the shooter, about what happened, how this could happen. I wanted to break down some theories with Nate the lawyer. Let's do this. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. So glad to have Nate the lawyer back to get his thoughts. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. Just, surviving in this crazy world because things have just gotten even crazier than they were before.
Indeed. And what I love about Nate, if you don't subscribe to Nate the lawyer, make sure you do. He just covers things so smartly, tries to be fair to all sides, always keeps it civil. You really got good insight on things. That's why I want to talk to you about this Trump stuff. I haven't heard you talking about it. And I thought, let's come on and let's handle this. I want to hear different perspectives on this to make sure we're covering it fairly. And you're not leaning into the conspiracy theories, as you will. I thought this would be a good conversation. Is this a conspiracy brewing? Was there a conspiracy brewing? I want to have that conversation with you. Now, look, we've all talked about the timeline of things, right? I think you do agree something is off here, that the fact that this kid, this young man, we should call him, he wasn't a kid, but still pretty young man somehow got on that roof. How did the Secret Service, who were nearby, were on the roofs, let this kid be up there for so long? I guess I want to start there before we get into our debate here. I assume that gives you pause as well, no?
Yes. Because from if you guys watch Dan Bongino, he used to be a former Secret Service agent, and he actually knows a lot of people who are involved in this. But their counter sniper team usually goes out to about 1,000 yards. So they can generally, anything within that 1,000 yards, they can usually catch early and stop from happening. This was about 150 yards away. So this wasn't really even a far shot. This is actually a pretty easy shot if you really know how to handle the rifle. 430 feet
is what seems to be finally coming in as the distance. Yeah. So still, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but that's about what, 150 yards or something like that?
Oh, you're doing conversions. You lost me. Yeah.
yeah, but for yards. But again, it's within that zone, and I think the Secret Service, there's some elements here where I think there's a lot of incompetence that went down into this, because it wasn't like no one saw the person, because there's videos of people saying the sniper, he's up there, there's somebody up there with a gun, there's radio communication with police, there's somebody on the roof, and you still let the guy get on stage with a clear line of sight, knowing that there's somebody on the police are saying somebody's on the roof, witnesses are saying there's somebody up there with a gun. Why is he still on stage? So I think the Secret Service has to, and I think they have to reevaluate how they're protecting someone, especially the former president, in this particular instance. And let's not forget too, this was, a lot of people were saying, well, he needed more Secret Service coverage, but now we found out that they did give him more Secret Service coverage because Iran put out a hit on Trump because he had killed one of their generals while he was president. So there was more Secret Service coverage, and this is what happens when you got more coverage. So it seems like a disaster all around, but I do think there's a high level of incompetence. And now with the conspiracy theories on both sides running rampant, it's like, what can people think? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, that's where I want to get in. Is this a conspiracy, right? Is the question. Obviously, the fair answer is obviously we don't know right now because we're still gathering intel. And I guess, when I think conspiracy, I think crazy ideas that are never possible, right? And so it's like, in this, I hear a lot of theories and possible reasons that I can't be that mad at. You know what I mean? I look at the ineptitude of the Secret Service. We did a video the other day about just literally the cops couldn't get over a damn fence, Nate. Like, they're saying, oh, we didn't put it up there because it's a slope roof. And Biden's like, yeah, I talked to him. Hello, it's a her. The head of security is a her. Like, everybody's got a different story. And sure, the government's dumb. They don't always have their shit together, clearly. But there's a level of ineptitude. We had Dallas Alexander on, a sniper. He's like, look, I'm not trying to spur controversy or conspiracy, but as an experienced sniper, this is just amateur hour. He was joking. We're like, kids on Fortnite know to create a venue like this for a spot. How could this happen is where I'm stuck. Because I agree. I don't think Trump staged this. I don't think Biden did it. There's a lot of people who are just jumping to those extremes. But do you and do you agree that there's cause of concern that there could be somebody else involved who is maybe batting a blind eye or causing something else? Or do you think that also still is a dangerous sort of version of a conspiracy theory?
Well, I think, let's separate the two conspiracy theories. Like the one right after this happened, I tweeted out on Twitter, and the first conspiracy theory was Trump set this up. Trump set this up to make himself look like a victim, and it's to get more votes and win the election. I think that's total nonsense, right? You don't set up somebody shooting you from 150 yards away and just nick your ear, like, the incredible.
And to be clear, there was, and he couldn't have put blood on it because they've now shown the shots, right? You see the bullet was by, and then you see him grab it, and there's a shot with his initial reaction on the fingers. There was blood on those fingers. So I 100% agree with you. There's no way Trump risks being grazed on the ear. Even the sniper's like, no, not the best of snipers couldn't have purposely grazed his ear.
Unless you're standing extremely still, because any turn of the head, like, grazing my ear like this is one thing, but soon as I turn my head, you're in my skull. So it's obvious this wasn't planned by Trump, and if he did, he's an idiot because he planned to die. So I think all those, but that's, I think, desperation on the liberals because they understood what this meant for Trump. I think on the other side, a government conspiracy that they were trying to kill Trump. I think there's a lot easier ways for them to get Trump than this whole sniper thing. And number one, you would use someone who's a lot more in that. Number one, you shoot center mass, you shoot center the head. So if he turns his head, you don't have any problem. This whole, this guy wasn't really, he wasn't well equipped to be a sniper. And I think also, I don't want to make it seem like there are not questions with this, because there's so many different questions. The sniper's a registered Republican, but he's given to Democrats. The police see the sniper before, climb to the roof, and they climb to the roof, but then they don't confront him. And then it's like, it's he's up there on a white roof, 100 yards away with clear line of sight, and you have snipers on all these buildings literally looking for that, and they all miss it. And after 6 shots, none of it makes sense. So, but right now I am leaning to incompetence, a high level of incompetence on the Secret Service. And I think, unfortunately, what happens is you get this kind of complacency when you're doing protection. I've done protection details for former presidents before. When I was in law enforcement, I've done them for U.S. senators before. And I think sometimes you just get into a routine until that routine is tested. And I think this tested that routine, and I think going forward, the Secret Service will have a different mentality about how they
take it more seriously.
Protection details. Yeah, because again, this was kind of like he's doing a rally again. Let's just do the same thing we do, not knowing that someone saw that these issues and we're going to take advantage of these holes and essentially won. Right, this guy won, except he was just a bad shot. And thank God that this guy couldn't shoot, because if he could, we'd be having a totally different conversation now.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is an important conversation because I see a lot of people going to these extremes and, again, blaming Biden. Biden did it. Like Biden has the energy or the know-how to do that right now.
like he can barely speak.
Exactly. Like, I don't believe that. And I've seen some of my own commenters saying, yeah, Biden arranged it. I just don't believe it. And then Trump staging, I don't believe it either. I don't think either of them would go that far with this. I don't. But it doesn't stop me from at least thinking it out, right? Hearing things out at this point. I do think we need to be more careful of not just jumping into those extremes and causing this divide, which I think we're in a little calm of the storm right now. We saw or seen at the RNC where there's a lot more scaled back unity talk and stuff and happen on both sides, which I wish would continue. But I give it a week or two until we're back to the races again and everybody's back at each other's throat. And it's just scary because, again, we're still trying to figure out who this guy was, right? And they're finding cell phone detonators on him. The home and his car were all activated. Was he attempting to do some like movie distraction? He thought he was like John Wick over here. He was going to shoot the shots and then blow up the car. And I mean, honestly, seeing the ineptitude of the Secret Service, I wouldn't be surprised if he did get away. That's what's so scary and why I think so many of us are having pause about it. It's kind of crazy that he was able to have all this going and no one had any sight. We're getting more information about his dad. We don't really know his full background. It seems like he was a Republican. Yes, he donated once to Democratic, but he voted Republican. It kind of doesn't really matter. It just seems like this kid was troubled, right? This kid was bullied. We're learning there's a video. I don't know if you saw the video.
Yes, the
him
video.
slitting the Republicans. Like it's brutal. There's no like jokey way to do it. So this guy was clearly unhinged. But that to me scares me too, because he clearly was on some sort of list, right? There were witnesses recording it, sending it to people. And then I understand people are going to go into those conspiracy patsy angles, Nate, but it's like at this point, given the ineptitude and everything we're saying, do you think it's dangerous misinformation to even humor those types of patsy conversations, or some other entity could be involved? Because I don't think it was Trump or Biden, but it could have been some other group, no, that could have maybe thought this was a way. Or do you think that's an even dangerous thing for me to say out loud? What are your thoughts?
Well, I like to kind of deal with the facts that we know with the facts that we don't. And like the facts we do know because the government just let us know the other day that Iran had this plan to get Trump, right? So this shooting wasn't part of that plan, but they did have a plan for revenge against Trump. So there is that aspect to it, but that is disconnected from this kid, because I think this kid was just some lone gunman who took matters into his own hand, unfortunately. And I do want to say, people are trying to say like this is like the only time, or this is like the one time something bad has happened in this way. No, we had Gabby Giffords, a Republican, went to her and she got shot in the head. So Gabby Giffords. Then you had Steve Scalise. Steve Scalise, a Democrat, right? Bernie Sanders supporter, shot him. And then you had, let's forget about the MAGA bomber who's doing life in prison because he sent pipe bombs to Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and the Clintons. So I don't think this is a unique thing in terms of like, this is something that nobody can see coming. I think this is just a graduation of what we've already been seeing. We've seen Congress people shot. We've seen the MAGA bomber send bombs all across the country. And now we've seen assassination attempt. So I think right now the smart thing to do is to tone the temperature down, because people are doing this, right? When Gabby Giffords got shot, people pointed to Sarah Palin putting her in a bullseye because she put her in a bullseye saying that we need to take that seat. But somebody thought about it as a bullseye to take her out. That type of thing. Steve Scalise's situation. So I think as a country, we have to understand there are always going to be crazies out there. So from Kennedy to Reagan, there are crazies out there who are going to see stuff and we can't stop them. But that's why we have the Secret Service and the professionals. So when the cops see people scaling a roof and the former president's talking, they need to say, we got to either tell them to get him off stage or kill this guy because he's up there for no good reason. But they didn't do that. And I think that is incompetence, but there could be more. And for people who to think that there may be more to it, I don't blame them, because my first thoughts when I heard it was like, is there more to this? But I think right now, the facts that we have, it's unreasonable to think that that's a conclusion. It's just good to think about, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well said. And I appreciate taping this. I pre-taped this week because I'll be out this week, and we're going to have Lewis and Kim handling breaking news regarding pop culture and this whole thing. So you'll be getting videos from them, as well as some other videos I've pre-taped this week. Just a heads up to a lot of new subscribers. My goodness, Nate, these videos have been blowing up. So I'm going to keep reporting on these, but obviously we also do other topics as well. Check out Nate and I talking about the Alec Baldwin case. A lot of insight. That was fascinating. But I appreciate you giving these insights. Now I want to have more of these conversations with people and really open this dialogue, because I think that's the key. Like you said, we got to be more civil. We got to have this be open, but also not go crazy and just make these crazy accusations without facts. We're having discussions here, people. These are discussions. These aren't always proven until we know for sure, and we tell you when we know. But I think dialogue is good. Let's humor it out. Let's see what's going on. I think we both agree this was a mess up at a massive magnitude. And I think that is why so many people are a little unnerved and concerned and having these theories, I would call them. Some of them are too far gone. Some of them might just be right on the money. We'll see. But I think it's good we ask some questions and make sure we get this full transparency, which is always hard to get from the government. But appreciate you, sir. Guys, if you aren't already following Nate the Lawyer, head on over there to YouTube. But Nate the Lawyer, he's got a lot of good stuff. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you think this for the election? Right now, the polls have come out, and Trump has got a massive lead in everything. So, do you think this essentially has put Trump in the driver's seat for the election? And if so, how do you think this affects Joe Biden? Because I think right now you have this weird dichotomy of Trump, having been shot in the air, pumping his fist, fight, seems very lucid, seems like he's mentally there. And then on the other side, you got Biden, who can barely walk down steps, who can barely even give a full sentence without making a gaffe. I think if the election is held today, I think it would be a disaster for Democrats. I think they lose everything. But yeah,
what I've been doing in my coverage is I don't want to get political. Like, it doesn't matter who I vote for. It doesn't matter who you vote for. It doesn't matter what the audience vote for. And honestly, in this case, I don't like either of them. So I'm able to look at this one a lot more objectively, which I think is why the coverage of it is working a bit better, because it's not about politics. It's about, the race. And honestly, at this point, I agree with you. I think it's Trump's game to lose. Yeah. And I think if Trump is able to be more civil and look normal and use this, it's over. I mean, Biden should have been out. He was way too old. It was very clear. Democrats didn't even have a choice to vote for who they wanted for. I think that was a sham. The DNC has embarrassed themselves so many times. What they did to Bernie with Hillary stealing the questions. I mean, this goes way back. They've just been a mess. They've been an absolute mess. So they knew it. Then they got George Clooney out to try to change the game. Yeah, it fell apart. I don't even think you can replace Biden at this point. This changes everything. And I think that's why so many people were like, oh, this was staged. Trump had to have done it. I don't think he did. But a Republican of some kind might have attempted to try to woo it up. I mean, this absolutely is going to help him. But it's pretty evil. I mean, we lost a life, that fire chief. It's just so sad to think. So I don't want to go that evil. I watch a lot of movies though, Nate. I know it's potentially possible. So, but I don't know. I don't want to go that far. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's Trump's election to lose at this point. I think I heard it was there was a really great show. We're going long, but Jon Stewart interviewed Bill O'Reilly, and I just love conversations like that where the two opposite of the side people, can talk. But Bill O'Reilly made a really good point to Jon Stewart. He's like, if Trump hadn't had that insurrection moment where he seemingly encouraged it, all the problems that people have, he'd be destroying it in the polls even more. Yeah. I really think that was an issue for me and a lot of voters. And some voters just sort of call it what it is. But for many Americans, that was so anti-democracy, America, right? And that to me is what he's up against. This was a moment that I think was able to finally bring the balance back to his side. And if he keeps it civil, it's going to be a lot harder for people who think he's that, anarchy type of guy. Did this ground him, right? Did this let him see a new light? I'm fascinated to see how this plays out. And we're going to try to do it as best we can until it's answered, and then we just delve into politics, which I don't want to do. I think this election season is an interesting thing to follow to see. As pop culture goes, there's no bigger story than this right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely personally, even on my channel, I try to stay away from politics as much as possible because I do think it's too divisive. But sometimes politics and culture kind of move in one. Culture kind of drives politics, and politics can drive culture. But I think in this particular instance, I just always find it fascinating because I always felt that a lot of Trump's votes or votes against Trump, a lot of Biden's votes were votes against Trump, right? Biden is not moving people to come vote for him. He's moving people to come vote against Trump. And I think an event like this has the ability to kind of cut that off, where now people aren't going to vote against him because it's Trump. People are going to now vote for Trump because it's Trump. And I think that difference is going to move the election. But hopefully, I love what I'm seeing from the Republicans in terms of now it's us. There's no us versus them. It's all us. And let's bring everything back together. And I hope they continue that message throughout the convention. And I do like what the Democrats are doing in terms of trying to calm down the temperature, but I do think they still have to remove Biden. I think Biden is done. But with all that being said, hopefully we can all remember that there is, when we all think about Democrats versus Republicans, left versus right, us versus them, there is no them. It's only us. It's just the way we think about this. So we're all together. I'm an independent. I know Andy's an independent. And, I don't buy into either side, but I do agree that I love this country. I love everyone in it. And I want this country to be the best ever. Now, who's going to take that? Is it Trump or is it Biden? I don't care who. Well, I do care who wins. But to me, this country is the greatest country in the world, and whoever helps us become even greater, that's what I want to say. So may it be Biden, may it be Trump, but God bless America.
Well said. And all I can say is, regardless of my feelings on Trump, that photo of him fist pumping out with the blood on his face was about as iconic and badass as it gets. And you put that next to the ballot box, it's not a competition. It's frightening. So yeah, we'll see what happens. We will keep you posted as best we can. And we're still giving you pop culture stuff. I hope you'll tune into there, all these new viewers. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, both here and Nate the Lawyer. Hit that bell for alerts. Smash that like button and stay tuned this week for lots of fun content. We'll be back. I'll be back in studio live next week, but we got more for you. In the meanwhile, stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching.